So, what is up, guys, and welcome to our channel Funolics. Today, we have with us Principal of Vidya Soda Public School, Mrs. Padmashri M. She has completed her bachelor's in education and master's in arts, along with postgraduate diploma in English language. She has a really vast experience of over 20 years, and with all her experience, she is going to guide all our viewers who are thinking of pursuing career in educational field. So, without any delay, let's get started. So, thank you very much, ma'am, for being with us today. And I'm really fortunate to have you here. And this interview is surely going to help the youth, the present youth, for their career guidance. I would like to first ask you about your journey. So, how would you brief your journey from a student to a principal?
Okay. My education started in Kendra Vidyalaya, Doni Malai, that is near Ballari district, actually. And we, being as a student, we had a lot of fun in KV, and there was no such pressure that you had to study in those days. And we enjoyed, but of course, my parents never insisted that you sit and study. But we did understand that study is important, and we were studying. At the same time, we had a lot of time in the school also, where we used to play and have fun with the friends, and especially at home also, because ours was a community kind. It is basically a central government, this one, where we were born and brought up with people coming from all parts of India. So that is why you can say that I'm also a multilingual person, because I can speak not only Hindi, English, but Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam, all these. So that is one added advantage. So that was my student life, where really enjoyed being a student, actively taking part in various co-curricular activities and sports as well. So I never missed an opportunity where I got a chance to, project my talent. That is how it was. But later, I never even dreamt that I would become a teacher. To tell you frankly, never in the rarest of my dreams, I had ever thought that I would become a teacher. Student life was just like study and enjoy. And in those days, we never thought about career and all. And you will not believe, after my marriage, when I came to Bangalore, I started my teaching career by chance, being a nursery teacher. Okay, so there was a vacancy that had arisen in one of the schools nearby, and I had applied. Actually, I was working for a lawyer, to tell you frankly. I was an assistant to a lawyer, but when the Kaveri issue erupted in 1991, that Rajaji Nagar area and all, there was a lot of issues, a lot of chaos, you can say. So then I shifted my profession. I thought, why can't I become a teacher? And that's how I applied and got it. And I started my teaching career as a UKG teacher in St. Mary's Convent, which is in Dasarahalli. And I'm very much indebted to the headmistress then, who is now the principal, Mrs. Chandra ma'am, under whose able guidance I pursued my career. Thereafter, she saw my talent, and I was given 6th standard. And then I started even studying. I was only a graduate by then, but I pursued my career and also my studies. And after many years, I think you can say after 2 decades of being a teacher, I became the principal. I have learned a lot, and my experience has helped me, to be in this position and to take care of things and handle them in a proper way.
Okay, that's really a fantastic journey. And so, moving on, my next question is that, were you always dreaming to become a principal of school, or was it, as you told, by chance that you came in this field?
Yeah. No, as a teacher, I told you, I never thought that I would become a teacher. But yes, when I started my journey as a teacher and moved on, taking different subjects. When I was a teacher, I told you nursery, and after that, I started taking English and social and Hindi also. Because being in the KV, having studied till 12th standard in KV, your Hindi is very good. And moreover, my mother tongue is Hindi, so that wasn't a challenge to me. But I did have inclination towards English, because my dad is a person who motivated me to read books. And that is how, I have developed passion towards English. And of course, yes, when I started my career as a teacher and kept moving on, somewhere I felt, when I jumped from one school to another, and of course, I have been very stable in my profession. It's not that I have worked for 2 years and shifted to another school. So it's a very static growth that I have had in terms of my teaching career. So in St. Mary's also, I think I have worked for 11 years. After that, I thought, yes, let me explore and see what is there outside. That is how I landed up in Rajaji Nagar, Venkat International School, Venus group of chains. There I realized that, yes, I have talent, which I can explore. And then I thought, yes, I can become a principal. It's not by chance. I realized that I have the potential and I can handle things. I can do my best being a principal. And that is how I applied actually at that time, and 2-3 schools had offered me the job. But due to commuting problem in those days, I did not opt. And then I started my being a principal as a career by being the founder principal in Sri Chaitanya Techno School, Yelahanka.
Okay.
And after that also, in between, I had 2-3 offers, but I didn't want to, change so soon. And I must say, wherever I have worked, I have gained a lot. I have given and I have taken back. That is how, in whichever profession you are, if you have to grow, that should be your motto. What best you can, you give, and what best you can take, you have to take. So then only, the growth is possible. So then I became the principal. So yes, it is my decision and the family support that I had. And then I decided I'll become a principal, and I became. And after I joined here in Vidya Saudha Public School, where I'm presently working 5 years back, that was also, I never thought that I'll be joining here. Always I used to see the building and wonder if I could step into this building someday and be a part of it. The day I resigned from Chaitanya, evening an offer came that there's a vacancy. Why can't you try? So I just tried my luck and I'm here, and I'm very happy to be here with the kids, with the management, which is very, very supportive. And I don't think so I expect anything more than this.
Okay, that's really wonderful. And was it ever that at Kendriya Vidyalaya, did any one of your teacher inspire you towards a particular stream, or was it all your decision throughout your life?
Yes, there are a few teachers in Kendriya Vidyalaya whom I cannot forget. Of course, I cannot forget all the teachers who have taught me because in those days, the teachers were very strict. And unlike today, we used to get even physical punishments. That also was there. Scaling and pinching, all this was very common. They never used to see whether you're a girl or a boy. And we never, felt anything about it, nor did our parents. Unlike today, even one small, what you call pat on the shoulder, it is taken as a beating. And you can see the parents coming and questioning us. It was not like that. Yes, I did have one geography teacher, Mrs. Kansal. Still, I remember her name. And her classes were very interesting. And I actually, in my graduation, I wanted to take geography. But unfortunately, in that area where I pursued my degree, we did not have that option. And my parents didn't want me to go out and study elsewhere. So that was one thing. Mrs. Kansal was one person. And we had our English literature teacher, Mr. Pillai, who was also the vice principal then. He inspired me to take up English. He generated that interest in me for English. And that is how when I took up MA, I chose English as my subject. And one more person I should mention is Mr. V.V. Giri, Hindi, my Hindi teacher. These were the people, and I've written poems in Hindi also because of him, who inspired me. So these are some of the teachers who really did have an impact on me. Otherwise, all the teachers have impacted me in some or the other way.
That's really good, ma'am. So basically, at the stage of student, a teacher definitely inspires us as a student to shape its personality. So the next question we have is from one of the kids. Any student asks you for extra marks because of good handwriting?
No, I don't think so. No. I don't think so. Any of my students have approached for me for the good handwriting. And even if they would have approached, I would not have given. Okay. That is for sure.
Yeah.
I do appreciate good handwriting, but the content is also very important.
Yeah. That's the point. question is, what are the qualities of a principal that you feel is common among all the schools?
Yeah, being a principal is not an easy task, let me tell you. Though we get so much of respect, regard from our colleagues, from our teachers, from the parents, but it is not that easy. We consider that seat as a hot seat on which we are sitting.
Yeah.
Being a principal is not, because you have to keep everyone together. It is the management, it is the parents, it's the teachers and the society. All you have to keep them together. So the first thing that the ability that a principal should have is crisis management. When there are difficult times that arise, it can be anything, because of a student, because of a teacher, because of the society. Any crisis may happen, any disastrous thing can happen. So you should know how to handle it, and you need a lot of patience. Patience is one thing a principal should have, because you will come across students whom you have to handle, you will come across parents whom you have to handle, who definitely, some of them don't have any patience to listen to the principal, and we will be at the receiving end. But in those times also, we should not lose patience, and we should give the person to speak and then interpret and see how we can convince the other person. And of course, a principal should be a motivator. And as a principal, never feel that you're in the number one leading position, you are the leader. Of course, you are the leader, you know that, but you should always believe that you have to take your team along with you. Not that you are in the front and the team follows you. You should go along with the team. Then only they will get that confidence to work and to excel. And another thing as a principal is to be a tough taskmaster. If you are not stern, if you are not tough, then things will never fall into place. So these things I feel are very, very vital for a principal. And the most important quality is adaptability. You come across different parents, different heterogeneous group of parents, students. So you should know how to manage them, and in different situations, how to adapt yourselves. So these few qualities are very important for a principal. Of course, knowledge, other things is set apart, because the experience and the knowledge that you have also counts. But these things are something which a principal should know to run the institution.
Okay. At VSPS, definitely there was a big milestone when one of your students had got the international medal for Aloha Abacus. So, how were your feelings at that point of time?
To tell you frankly, when the news came and I heard it over the phone, I was, for a few seconds, I couldn't believe that it was true, because it was the first time we had introduced Aloha Abacus in our school through Mr. Anil Sharma, who is running the Aloha training in Little Wonders. And when he called, as soon as the results were announced, and he called, "Ma'am, your child has won the, Grand Champion Award." I said, "What?" Then I said, "Just give me 2 minutes, I'll get back to you." That was my reaction. Then when I called him back, I told, "Yes, ma'am, he has won." Because till then, from his center, whichever school had taken Aloha, for the first attempt itself, they had never won international award. So that was indeed a very great achievement for us. And I felt that, yes, by introducing Aloha in our school, I have been successful in giving something to the students. Because I know that Abacus or Aloha, whatever it is, it helps the students to, in terms of basic calculations in mathematics. That is really a great wonder. So I was really very, very happy. And the second consecutive year when the child won, I knew that he will do it, because I had the confidence. But along with him, there were other students also who had got the awards. So I felt very happy that, yes, I am being justifiable in introducing Aloha. Because initially when I started, there were a lot of apprehensions from the parents. Why Aloha? What is the use of it? They were not able to understand. But after we got the award, I think people understood what it is. And definitely it has contributed to the growth of the institution as well.
Yes, ma'am. So, how do you think that milestone has affected other students? So, is it that the number of students taking Abacus has increased, or is it that they've started taking interest in maths or any other subject?
Yeah, numbers have increased. I don't tell, because it's a mandatory subject in our school for grade 1 to 5 students. But of course, when the award for the very first year we received the award, I could see that many other students also felt, yes, I could also do. So as you said rightly, yes, the interest in taking it seriously had begun from the very next academic year. That is why I told you it was not one award that year, but I think some 6 awards we have received the second year. So that was a wonderful achievement, which we had even shared with our parents, and they were also very happy about it.
That's really great. And definitely you have a very vast experience, be it in teaching field or be it subject wise. As a student, which was one of your favorite subjects that you would love to read?
This is a very difficult question. Which subject? Of course, you know what I am, what I teach.
Yeah, sure.
As I told you earlier, English has been my favorite subject. And apart from that, as I told you, I also have an inclination towards geography. Geography is another favorite subject of mine. And in English, I love grammar than literature, because I feel grammar is very challenging, and to make the students understand is a very Herculean task. Like how you teach formulas and the sums in mathematics, it is like the same. And in English grammar, it is like mathematics where you can score full marks. Literature, if you know the story, any question that is asked, you can write it down. And teaching also is not that a great deal until unless you know the what you call intonation that you use in teaching will definitely motivate the students to learn better. That is there. But English has been my favorite subject, and it is my favorite subject even to this day. And I feel that there is so much more to learn. So I keep reading novels of different genres of the English literature. And sometimes, I am amused how I have that, what you can say, dream that one day I should write a novel, but I don't know when that is possible. Hopefully I will do it. But sometimes when I read the books written by the great authors and all, I feel how that thought process works to bring out such beautiful, literature, which amuses everyone who reads it.
So basically, you have read many novels and storybooks, right? So which author do you think your thought process is almost equal to his thought process or her thought process?
Not one or two. I can say one is Ruskin Bond. I love his novels very much, and the way he portrays, from his heart, it is something which I can never forget. The beautiful way, the simple things that he brings to light, from the day-to-day life. That is something I always admire about him. And if not author, I can say poet, William Wordsworth. I know he is a very well-known romantic poet of English literature. I love reading his poems, and sometimes, unknowingly I by heart them. To that extent, I get involved in reading his poems.
Okay. Nowadays, you can see that the students are more inclined towards the textbooks rather than storybooks. How would you define that?
It's really very sad, to tell you frankly, because, whenever I try to test the knowledge of the students about the books, I think being a student, you yourself know, when I was teaching Shakespeare, when I ask about the epics that our Indian epics are there, most of the students don't know the story. So it is really very sad. It's not about reading books about foreign authors or different things. But when a student doesn't know our own tradition, our own culture, then it's very sad. And especially today, children hardly have time for reading books. What has happened today, parents have so much expectations from the children, because it's like a rat race today. I can call that it's a rat race. And it's a very tough competitive world. Of course, competition was there earlier also, but it was not like this. Every parent wants the child, his or her child, to be in the number one position. They want them to excel in studies. They want to excel them in co-curricular activities. They want to excel them in sports. Now imagine a child who is not having any interest in sports. Why to force him to go for it?
Right.
Just because the parent wants it. So what has happened in this melee of things, I think somewhere the child has lost his or her interest. And because of this, they don't find time to read. But there are few, I don't say that all are not like this. I do come across students who have great inclination towards reading. I really admire, and when I come to know, I call them, I talk to them and suggest them to read some more books. I tell them what to read, what not to read. And even because I also have the interest, even at this stage, what are the new books that are coming out nowadays, who are the new authors. Like I have read books written by Amish. I think, I don't know how many of you have read it. It is all about our characters in the Ramayana, about Sita, about Rama, about Ravana, and you really know the other side of the character of the person than what is actually portrayed. So I wish that children develop that inclination towards reading. Reading doesn't mean only storybooks, even newspaper where an article of your interest you can read. So since they are not doing this, I feel that there is a great, the graph is going down in terms of reading skills and learning skills.
Okay. As you have mentioned about the sports, I've heard that you are a very good basketball player when you're a student. So what memories would you like to share with our viewers about the sports?
Sports. It may appear silly, but I used to love playing basketball with my brothers. I have 3 elder brothers, and we always used to go and play basketball. As I told you, we were living in a community, it is a central government, area where only the employees of that NMDC, what we call it as, they were there. And we did have a park, a basketball court, and even in the school ground was very big. So we used to go always to play basketball. With the brothers, I used to go and play basketball. And that is how I developed, and my brothers used to teach me how to play it. Then in the school, of course, I was a part of the basketball team, and we used to represent in KV at the regional level and the state level. So somehow I have a passion towards basketball even now. And whenever I see children playing, I feel I'm forced to go there and, at least shoot one ball.
Okay, yeah, definitely those memories even reside with me when you had come to play with us. Moving on, as a student, did you ever have a backup plan when you were pursuing your career?
As a student, as I told you, we just knew that we have to study. Being in the KV in those days, I never had that ambition that I should get so much percentage, I should be like this, or I should become a teacher. These things were not at all there in my mind. It was like fun and learning. As I told you, we used to run to the school in the morning. We were very happy to go to school. And in those days, we didn't have this metro or BMTC running around. We had to go by walk. It was a township rather where we lived, how you have here HMT township and all like that. So we had to literally walk to the school, which was 1.5-2 kilometers away. And we used to be very happy running and going to the school and then enjoying learning. And I don't remember when I have seriously listened to a teacher, I don't remember, to tell you frankly. But yes, we were studying. I was not a very intelligent student in my school life, but I used to study. I knew that I had to study, and whatever and how much I could study, I was studying. And even my parents were not, they did not have any expectations, and then they never used to force me to study. They knew that I'll do well. So in those days, it was important that you pass with a reasonable, percentage of marks. That was enough. So I never thought that I should think about a career in my life. And moreover, in those days, there were few options like engineering and doctorate was there. Taking up an MBBS seat or an engineering seat, and it was said to be for only the intelligent people who are the top scorers, and the others we had no other option but commerce and arts. And since I had interest in geography, I landed up taking BA, that is Bachelor of Arts, and that is how I kept on learning. I never thought that I should become this. As I told you, it was all by chance that I became a teacher. But I'm happy whatever I have chosen my career, and I want to do much more in this field.
Okay. As you have mentioned that engineering and doctorate were the two major fields even at that time, as it continues to be till date. How do you think that these two fields have affected the youth? Because we see every year that around 10 lakh students sit for engineering exams, 16 lakh students sit for the medical exams. So do you think that exploring other options is also a major decision that should be taken by the students when they are in the 11th or 12th or even before that?
Yes, definitely there has been a vast difference from what we had in those days and now. Yes, engineering and MBBS were very prominent in those days, but today I don't think so. It should be. But there are some part of the society, where parents want even now their children to be an engineer or a doctor. They cannot view things beyond that. But today's generation is different. What I have seen is the generation is different. They have their own options. And today, if you look at the options that you people have, it is very vast. In commerce, you have so many things. In science, you have so many things. In arts, you have so many things. In those days, we did not have so many options at all. And not all colleges were offering all these options. But today, with the tough competition, even in the educational field, every college has most of the options that a student aspires for. That is there. And coming to engineering, one myth that parents have is that they know only about few branches, whether it is civil engineering, whether it is medical engineering, whether it is computers, electronics, these things. But if you look into it, it's like an ocean. I think more than 100 odd courses are there in engineering, which even today's parents, they don't know about it. Very few know about it until unless the school or the college does some career counseling, then they come to know that yes, these are the branches of science, engineering that they have. Yes, today's children are very lucky that you people have a lot of options to pursue. And being in 11th or 12th, I think today's generation is able to make that decision what they want to pursue. And even if that is there, if you look at the other day I was interviewing candidates for the teacher's post. You will not believe I have engineering students who have taken up teaching as a career now. So you can see that maybe because of the pressure they pursue their their learning, do engineering, but afterwards they switch over to their passion. That is a different thing. So what I want to tell the students is that make up your mind what you want to do. And at some point of time, if you feel that this is not right, you definitely have an option to change. But don't think that, yes, I have chosen this, I'm not able to do it, what will I do? These questions should not come to your mind. Until unless you're dedicated, you can pursue whatever you want to do.
That's true, definitely, because engineering and medical are usually taken a lot more serious than any other career in our society. Nowadays, as you told, that there are various career options throughout, and we can see that there are many emerging options also, like we can say content creation, basically on YouTube or on any other platform. How do you think that this could positively impact the students?
Definitely. As I told you, see, now yourself, you're a student. You're doing your PU. At the same time, you're pursuing your passion, what it is by having this YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So what I suggest is have your goal and take up your course of study that you want. At the same time, don't kill the passion that is there in you. But don't give undue importance to the passion at this stage, so that you can continue focus on your studies. About you, as you're doing your PU and you have a passion, so what I tell the youngsters is that pursue your passion, but don't lose your goal on your studies, whatever you have to do, because ultimately it is a goal that matters. Passion you can continue anywhere during the journey of your life. That will be there as a second option always.
Yeah. So the next question is also from one of the students. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully 5 years down the lane, I think I have worked as a principal now, and if at all opportunity provides, I would like to be the director of the school. What you call guiding teachers in the curriculum aspect and how to go about teaching.
Okay. How have you dealt with challenges, and what are the some ways that you have resolved them?
Challenges have been plenty in this career, like as I was sharing you, with the
Yeah,
students, with the teachers. Sometimes, there have been, I don't want to tell the complete incident. When I was in, it was a very bad incident that had happened, and I was really in a shock to understand how to resolve it. And for 2 3 days I did not get sleep also, and ultimately I came to know that the child had lied. That too, it was such a lie that no one can hear that lie. But by God's grace, I could be very calm and try to take it in such a way that no one knew about it. And whenever any problem comes to me, whether it is a problem of a child or a parent, I always try to keep it discreet. I don't disclose it to anyone, so that I analyze things from my end, how to go about it, so that I can take a decision and then convey. So that is how it has been. um, Challenges have been from the student front also, where we come across certain students who are very very reluctant to learn, and you feel that the parents are fully supportive, and they feel that the school is doing nothing for the improvement of the child. And many parents, they feel that once they put the children in the school, miracle should happen, but it does not happen like that. So these were some of the challenges. Otherwise I don't think so any major challenges I have come across, because wherever I have worked as a teacher, I have had a wonderful team of colleagues, wherein we could share and we could help each other out. And as a principal also, I have had a very wonderful team with me wherever I have been as a principal, guiding them, motivating them. And they also understand that at times I may be angry, but there is a reason behind it. And when I appreciate them, there is a reason behind it. So that is how it goes on. So I have never faced any such difficult challenges as such.
okay. And I would like to even ask you this thing that nowadays, like as we know that the proudest moment of an engineer or a person who is doing his job is when he hands over his first month's salary to his parents. Which was the proudest moment of your life as a teacher or when you became the principal?
Mm, as a principal, I really felt very happy that I could become the principal. And it is not the salary that had mattered to me, it is seeing my name written as a principal that really brought happiness to me. And I should tell you at this point of time, because I feel it's very important, that you have heard a saying, behind every successful man there is a woman. So I would like to proudly say that behind every successful woman also there is a man. My husband has been very supportive. Even after my marriage, he has helped me to pursue my career and pursue my studies. That is how, because of his cooperation and his commitment also, I can say that I am here what I am today. And even my family, whether it is my daughter or parents, everyone has been supportive. And wherever I have worked, I have got a very conducive environment to work with, and that has been my strongest strength. And most of all, you should have confidence in yourself. You should not let down the what you call the obstacles that come in your way to take a toll on you. So definitely, if you are confident and if you are undeterred, then definitely you can achieve anything. So I can say that being a principal, I feel very proud that I have come this far, and what best I can do, I'm doing.
That's really great, ma'am. Our next question is also from one of the student. How crucial do you think a student council is when taking decisions on behalf of or for the students of the school?
Yes, for few students, I think counseling is very, very important. And that is why, especially when we were students, we never had a student counselor. Because, in those days, we were not bothered by so many things, because we did not have media as a platform to distract us in many ways. because I remember when I was in 10th standard, it was the first time the TV had come home, and they were limited. Only Doordarshan was there, and you could not watch anything else. But today, when you switch on the TV, you have a lot of channels, and now during the lockdown, I think Prime, Amazon, all these has been, very much on the tips of the children at home, I think. Sometimes what happens, there may be different issues with the child. What I have come across is that sometimes even parents don't know that this is a problem with the child. But in the school, when we observe the child, whether it's a teacher or the principal or any other person, we then realize that yes, we try to talk to the child. Counseling, we also do it because it's a part of our job. Counseling is a part of a teacher's job and my job as well. But if we have a professional counselor in the school, he or she can take the child into confidence and find out what exactly the problem is. Because a student may not open up in front of the teacher or the principal, fearing that this matter will be leaked to the parent. But the counselor has the trust. But one thing is there, that there should be follow-up done. Counseling doesn't end with one session. Maybe depending on the case, sometimes 1 or 2 counseling sessions are important, but counseling is a very crucial part in some of the students' life, which has to happen.
Yeah, that's definitely important, because when a child is surrounded with different types of students, every student has a different mentality on its own. So that becomes again a very important issue for him to share his thoughts properly with someone.
Yeah.
Which path would you suggest to students if they wish to pursue teaching as a career in terms of degree and college? Like, as we have IIT for engineering or AIMS for medical, do you suggest students to go in the teaching field?
Yeah. Today, I think the very prestigious institutes where good coaching is given for professional people who want to become teacher or take up teaching as a profession. One is MES College of Teachers, I can suggest. Another one is RV. And if they're working and they want to pursue correspondence courses, IGNOU is there, Indira Gandhi National Open University. That is also very much good. So there are many others. Of course, many B.Ed colleges have come up offering correspondence courses, but they don't justify the what a person has to learn to become a teacher. But these are few of the colleges where I felt, where I have seen people coming out of it, and they have been justifying their role as a teacher. So I feel that these colleges should be really good.
Okay, that was quite really helpful, because many students might not even know the names of these colleges. Thank you very much, ma'am. And I would like to ask you one question that always I wanted to ask to any of the teacher. We have seen YouTube to even develop as an education platform. So how do you see it in terms of education? Do you think that students should always refer YouTube or something else?
No, I don't suggest always refer YouTube. Of course, nowadays you have a lot of educational platforms that are available on the online media that you have today, like Byju's app is there. Then you have, what is that? I'm not getting the names. A lot of things are there. But, not always. Yes, as a reference, you can refer them once in a while. Because sometimes what happens, maybe in the class you would not have understood the concept, some way. It depends on the teacher also. So in order to clarify your doubts, if you can go for it, that is really good. But definitely it is going to be a very useful tool. I don't say that, because a teacher cannot come back and teach you always, when you are at home, how to clarify your doubts and all. So in such cases, this will help you. So it should be as a reference material. Definitely how you refer books to clarify your doubts. Similarly, YouTube's channel, educational platform should be as a referral media for the students. And this will definitely help them and build them confidence. And nowadays, in the classroom, using digital technology has become a part of it. Especially with this corona, I think many of us have gone digitally. And the way the teaching is going on today using online platform, the teachers are showing videos, they are preparing PPTs, all this. They would not have done that to that extent when it would have been only a physical teaching
class.
classroom. Yes, right? So that is what it is. So you can imagine that visual learning has a great impact on a child than just listening to the teacher. So this is one of, when we study in B.Ed, we come across this also, that visual impact is more important for some children, not all. Some of them, they can catch the concept very easily when they see something. So in such cases, this becomes very important for them. Definitely, I advise them to go for it, but to see that it is limited.
Right. Definitely, because even YouTube is filled with all the other contents that
yes
might not help the student in terms of the studies or academics.
Yeah.
So next question is from again one of the students, and she says that students are made to write essays on 3 wishes that they want if they get a jinn or a Aladdin's lamp. What would have been the 3 wishes if you were given Aladdin's lamp?
I don't have particular wish for me. If I would have got the Aladdin lamp and the genie would come in front of me, I would be wondering what should I ask him, to tell you frankly. It would be like that, because I only want that everyone should be happy. That is one thing I would have asked, because if everyone is happy, all other things will fall into place automatically, right? So there is nothing to worry about then. And I would rather ask Ginny that let more people be educated in the world. Let even the the so-called underprivileged people also get the privilege of getting educated. Because I don't tell that they should get money, because if they are educated, they can automatically earn money what they need for. That is what I would have asked, and nothing particular like that to ask for a wish.
That was actually a very creative question.
No, it's good that they asked, because they wanted to know what will I tell.
Okay, moving on. Is it necessary for a student to take a particular stream in class 12th or class 11th, that is like science or commerce, so that he or she may grow up to become a teacher?
Yeah, if you have the already you have made up your mind that you want to be a teacher, then you can decide which area you want to specialize in, whether it is in the science field or it is in the arts field. Okay, and when we were doing at that time, only science and arts were the only 2 graduate degrees with which you could go for B.Ed. But today the scene has changed. Even a BCom, MCom student, after MCom they can pursue B.Ed. And even in B.Ed, today you have economics as a methodology and even accountancy as a methodology, which very recently I have come to know. I was surprised and I felt very happy that the trend of making teachers is changing. If it is only science, then you could go for maths, physics, and specialization in the subject. Apart from that, you could, even a science teacher would take a combination of English. Same way, an arts teacher with all the social study subjects, English would be a combination, because you have to offer methodologies in teaching, right? But today, with commerce students also getting the platform is something very happy to hear that this platform is also provided to them, so that they can. Otherwise, what used to happen, a BCom student could not continue with B.Ed and they had to go to the office to work, or some other job they would have taken up. But today, even education field is open to them with different methodologies that are given in B.Ed. As I told you, economics is there, accountancy is there that they can choose from. So definitely, when a student decides to become a teacher, he has to understand that being a teacher is not just limited to the teaching the students in the 4 walls of the classroom. It is much, much beyond that. Okay, and to be an active teacher, you should know many things. You should know to sing, you should know to dance, you should know to, have fun with the students. At the same time, you should know that you have to be a tough taskmaster also. So based on that, you can take a call, because if you go on with the lecture method and your class is very boring, then it will be only one-way process. Because if you want to become a teacher, you have to see how effective your classroom will be in terms of what you're teaching is getting registered in the mind of the student or not.
Okay. As you have mentioned that the methodology of teaching has definitely changed from your time to the present. How would you compare the education from your time to the present as in terms of academics or the syllabus?
Having studied in KV, I think the syllabus is more or less the same. Not much has changed because I still see the poems that I had studied when I was a student still in the textbooks of the present day generation also. Maybe few changes have happened because, of course, after every 5 years, a review committee is there which reviews the textbooks and changes are brought into it. So minor changes have taken place, and with technology, I think that also has become a part and parcel of every subject today, that is being taught. And as far as the curriculum and the syllabus, yes, there has been change, as I told you, but not very vast. But I think so that, the system of the education has changed. If you see in the earlier days, we were all very happy with the marks that we scored. We never bothered about anything. And there is a different perspective. If you look at from the parents' perspective, from the teachers' perspective, the different boards that you have, the society, the options, there is definitely a very big difference. If you talk about parents' perspective, in those days, I never even remember if my parents had ever come to the school for a PTM. But today, if you see, it is mandatory that the parent has to come to the PTM. And the expectations of the parents are also different, right? Even half a mark is lost, why the child did not get marks, so many questions will arise. But in those days, it was not like that. The expectations of the parents were also not so high compared to the expectations of the parents today. And if you look at the teacher's perspective, in those days, as I've already shared, our teachers were very tough. They did not hesitate even for the physical punishment to be given. But today, you cannot even think of that. So today's teachers don't demand that much respect what those days teachers were demanding, because the parents, the society label them so and so is so and so teacher, like that they say. So that is really not good. Actually, you have to respect teacher. Maybe some are very good, some need some time to learn to prove themselves. It is like that, which all of us should understand. And boards also, in those days, we did not the what you call ICSE was not a very popular board in those days. But today, ICSE also has come on par with CBSE. And state boards, of course, they were there. That is there. Then coming to society also, in the earlier days, even if you are a graduate, people in the society used to, look up, with respect. But today, what is your son doing? Oh, he's doing BCom. Why he didn't join engineering? This is a question that arises.
Right.
Of course, now slowly the trend is changing. And what I have felt is that, now people, students are taking a break year. I think you people know very well what a break year is, 1 year they drop it off so that, they are happily relaxing, then they come back to studies. This is also one welcome note with the stress that everyone is undergoing, especially the students. That is one thing. And already I've shared with you, options are many. Another thing, from the option perspective, if you think in those days we had limited options for our career, but today you have n number of options in every field that you choose.
That's a really drastic change that we can see from the past. I even remember my parents saying that science and commerce, these are the two main options that were given to the students. And most of them would go to science itself because they thought that their future might be better in those.
And art student, no one used to bother at all. Oh, he's studying arts, he doesn't know anything. Because they don't know that arts also has subjects which people have to study. It is also something you're studying. So everyone takes up commerce and science, then who will study arts? But now the perspective has changed.
Right. Okay, ma'am. So next question is, it's not basically a question. Okay, it's a small activity that you are going to have. One of the students had requested me to conduct it. as I told him that you know 5 languages, so he has told me to give you 3 dialogues basically from famous Hindi movies. You have to translate them in any two of the language that you know.
Okay, tell me the dialogue.
First dialogue is दोस्ती का एक उसूल होता है, no sorry, no thank you.
One line. दोस्ती का एक So you want me to translate in Kannada?
Any two languages, be it in English and Kannada.
My Kannada is not that good, but I know Kannada. ಮಿತ್ರತೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾರಿ ಅಥವಾ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಇರಬಾರ್ದು. ಅದು ಒಂದು ಮಿತ್ರನ ಲಕ್ಷಣವಾಗಿರ್ಬೇಕು. I don't know how far it is too. Exactly, I don't know. Then Telugu. మిత్రంలో సారీ థ్యాంక్ యూ ఉండకూడదు. Even they call the word dosti also in Telugu also. దోస్తీలో ఒక ఉసూలు ఉంది. సారీ థ్యాంక్ యూ చెప్పకూడదు.
So at least I know the dialogue. Otherwise, if I would have heard it like that, I would have Next dialogue is.
It's okay.
Next dialogue is उसका तो ना बैड लक ही खराब है.
వాడిది బ్యాడ్ లక్కే సరి లేదు. Then in Kannada also or Tamil I'll try.
Yeah, Tamil. Any two language.
I'll try because I'm not very fluent in Tamil, but I understand it very well and I speak something in Tamil. What did you say? Uska to bad luck hi kharab hai.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Avanode bad luck romba kettadagirutte.
That's quite.
Okay. I don't know exactly. Maybe mistakes are there.
Okay, so next and the last dialogue is picture abhi baki hai mere dost. Okay, this should have been the first dialogue, I think.
Okay, picture inka baki undi. In Telugu also they say like that.
Okay.
Picture inka baki undi. Kannada. Picture inna baki ide.
So I think
because some terms are very common.
Yeah. I think we are done with it. I hope that you must have been satisfied.
Yeah, I'm very happy talking to you and whoever has asked questions and all, you can tell them thank you so much for asking these questions, and I could reconnect myself with my earlier years, you know, and thank you Shreyas for giving me this opportunity for being on your YouTube channel, and hopefully I have done good job being on your channel, able to satisfy you with the questions that you asked. And whatever I could, it's all impromptu that has come to me, what I have shared with you. And using this platform, I want to convey to all my students and all my well-wishers all the very best. And especially I want to see students like you to come up in life in future so that we can come and meet you when we become old.
Yeah. So,
and do form a alumni of your group. That will be very, very good.
Yeah, that's what those like retain those old memories is a very happy moment of a life, when be it by seeing through the pictures or the albums that we had taken together.
Yeah, nostalgic memories, you know, when we recollect, we go into nostalgia actually. Right? Yeah.
So moving on to interview, what were the subjects that you had to learn when you were in college? Like as I told you, as a student has science and physics, chemistry, biology, so those types.
Yeah, as I told you, when after my 12th, you know, in 12th I had taken humanities as my stream, which is nothing but arts. I pursued BA. In BA I had political science, economics and history. And since it was a college where there was no Hindi offered, well, being from KV, we usually take second language as Hindi. but there was no Hindi offered, so we had taken additional English as the subject. Apart from the main English paper, we had one general English, another was the additional English. In additional English, I think I remember we had learned about one of the great politician of London England at that time. I'm not getting that name actually, but it was really good. It was like a full biography of that person which we had learned, because we could not take up Hindi. And of course in MA we had English. In English I have studied American literature, European classics, and criticism, literary criticism, which is a very tough subject we had. So these were the subjects that I had studied.
So basically, arts also stand equal on science. Both are equally difficult.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, both are equally difficult, because when we were studying history also it was difficult. It's not easy to remember everything. And history is not just mugging up things. It is about understanding, and how you interpret them is more important. And economics, of course, it is related to commerce, where you study about all the things, demand, supply, and other things like what is that crisis that arises out of economic crisis. All these things we have studied. So it was not easy, because art student cannot score full marks.
Right.
Whereas in engineering, like in math, science, you can score.
Yeah.
It's a scoring subject. But in arts, it is very, very difficult. And I was the second topper of my college in BA when I did my BA.
Okay, that's really good. Being a topper of the college is another feat that a student has. So finally, to conclude our today's interview, what message would you like to give to our viewers?
Yeah, one thing I believe is punctuality. When you want to do something, be punctual in doing it, whether it is meeting your friend or setting a target for something, or you have to do something on your own. Be punctual about doing things. Then follow your passion and dreams with determination. So if these two are taken care of, rest of the things will automatically be done. And one thing is having social values, which I feel in the present scenario and in the present generation, what we see lacking is the moral values or the social values. If you can build up on those, yes, slowly the people, the youth are, noticing this, and they are coming forward to what you call propagate this. So let this be there. Don't forget your moral values, social values, and always remember the people who have helped you in every possible way. So be humble, be grateful, be passionate about what you do, and be determined. That is the message I can give to my present generation, to our present generation.
Thank you very, very much once again, ma'am, for being with us today. It was really an honor for me to have your interview. And I hope that this interview will serve as a good inspiration for the present generation.
Thank you so much, Reyes. Once again, wishing you all the best, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for being with us today. And indeed, this video is going to be a great inspiration for all those students who want to pursue their career in teaching field. Thank you very much, viewers, for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video. Till then, take care.